Happy Friday, and welcome here to another edition of the Husker Online Show. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple, as when we thought earlier in the week, God, what's going on this week? Well, we got plenty to go through here. Before we get into Husker Online headlines, number one, we're brought to you by our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They are there for you when loved ones in your life need help. They could be recovering from a surgery, just need extra help when they're sick. StayHome.Care provides consistent, compassionate support from personal care and companionship to daily tasks like laundry, meal prep, and assistance with appointments or outings. They're there for your loved ones when you can't be there. Check them out at StayHome.Care or call them at 402-205-2233. Our heart is with you because we put our heart in everything we do. Your home, our care. StayHome.Care. Thank you to StayHome.Care for being the title sponsor of the Husker Headline Show. But Sip, let's get into headline number one because it kind of dropped out of nowhere on Wednesday. Nebraska makes a major offseason hire here, and this has become the trend. We've seen this all over college football this cycle. Teams are now hiring a GM, and Nebraska brings in Pat Stewart from the New England Patriots, who actually worked with Matt Rhule during his time in Carolina, but was with Bill Belichick from 2007 to 2017 as a scout, worked for the Eagles, worked for the Panthers, and went back to the Patriots. Okay. He'll, to my knowledge, take his first job in the college ranks at Nebraska with Matt Rhule.
And he's replacing Sean Padden.
Right, and Sean Padden is going to move into, Matt Rhule said this on the Pat McAfee show, expected to move into more of a remote kind of different role where he's going to be working with the numbers. And that's what this is all about. This is no longer necessarily, and Tony and Coach Butler said this at St. Michael's. It's an acquisition game now. It's no longer just about recruiting, and it's a numbers game. It's a dollars game. And this is where now hiring somebody with a pro background that is used to working with the salary figures. This is the model. We've seen it, Sip, all across college football.
Yeah. And so things move so fast. The change and the evolution in the college game is moving incredibly fast. And I think in our position, we can't just assume, Sean, that your dad, for instance, knows what we're talking about here. What do you mean they're hiring a general manager?
Well, they technically had one last year, but it's a different role.
Right. But even having one last year, how many people can you even explain what Sean Padden did?
Well, we did talk to him last year,
right,
in an interview setting. And
I'm not knocking the position or Sean Padden. It's just the familiarity is so low with these positions. Like, what is this new guy going to do exactly?
Like last year, he was the Padden in the press conference that we had in the summer, worked as the liaison with 1890. Well, I think the role has beefed up considerably with the House settlement case expecting to pass.
Right.
Where there's going to be $20.5 million of Nebraska's money now that they can pay. So you need almost an expert in that field in dealing with kind of a salary cap, if you want to call it that.
It's kind of that.
And how you manage it. But there's also going to be the collective field of it too. How do you work the collective in and get the deals through the clearinghouse? So the collective is going to be involved still, but you can't say, hey, this business wants to sign Steve Sipple to a $500,000 deal with the collective. Like, that will have to go through a clearinghouse and get approved. So the collective can still do things like car deals, housing deals, other things like that, and then one-off deals. But his job is going to be, how can we build this roster and maximize the collective and our rev share dollars? And in a lot of ways, there's an NFL kind of model put in place here.
Yeah, you just can't have the head coach do all that. You just can't do it. It's not feasible. So you hire a general manager like Alabama did, like you pointed out in your story about Stewart. Alabama signed a guy named Courtney Morgan, 3-year, $825,000 per year. You mentioned Oklahoma hired Jim Nagy as its general manager.
About $1 million hire probably there too.
He was the Senior Bowl executive director. So yeah, you're right. This is going on.
Michael Lombardi for Bill Belichick.
Yeah, $1 million.
1.5.
1.5 million dollar, $1.5 million and a half dollars for him. So, it's a huge hire for this is it. Now, what I'd ask you is how much guess power will Pat Stewart have at Nebraska? How much say-so in player acquisition will Pat Stewart have? Can you answer that?
Those are things that we don't know, but you get the sense that there's a complete shift and kind of turnaround in the personnel department and how they're going to go about it, how they're going to recruit high school athletes and the process that they do with that. The days of an in-state kid from a smaller school that could be even just a walk-on level guy and say, hey, can we come to practice today? Those are done. Like it's a big business now. Like the recruiting, when they host a recruit on campus now, it's going to be a guy they want because it's just different. I mean, with the roster limits and the money involved, I think the approach that you take has to be a lot different with how you recruit, who you bring in, who you spend your time on. You don't have the luxury of taking 25 walk-ons anymore. So you can't really put time towards that part of it like you did once before.
All of this, as you talk, what's happening is the professionalization of college sports. It just sounds more and more professional, right?
Well, and you go to the 105 limit.
Did that word, I said that correctly.
I was about to give you an interesting. We better not get on the internet. We better just do that. That's our only allowed.
We're not doing that word.
But you go back to just the roster limits. Matt Rhule said this week he would like them to be 65 to maybe 75% high school on the recruiting. But then he said we'd like to take about 15 guys. So just in my math of numbers in the past, that's under 65%. That's more like 55%. So like what is the proper blend of high school versus portal, and then how you manage the money? Like, I spoke to somebody in the industry with your high school recruiting. I mean, you could really only afford, it's kind of like the NFL draft. You can only have money for so many first and second and third rounders, like
portal guys.
No, for high school recruiting.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
So for high school recruiting,
draft, like that, they're the equivalent of draft guys.
So you almost treat high school recruiting like a draft.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're gonna have 8 draft picks, 5 draft picks, and we have a budget of this for those 8 desirable players.
Okay,
and then we might have another 10 or 12 that we see upside in, that we sign as kind of like almost league minimum deals or rookie deals. And go from there.
This is where the general manager
comes in. The general manager has to come up with that plan.
Right.
Then on top of that, the portal, just like the NFL, free agency. And free agency, as you know, is high dollar, and the portal's high dollar. So you have to treat recruiting almost like a draft with how you manage your money and the budget you have towards that. And then you have to have almost a portal budget, but then you also have to have a retention budget of keeping your players that do well.
Sean, what would you look for in a general manager?
I think you got to be pretty even keeled, because what this guy's going to walk into is completely different than he's ever dealt with. Like, you're going to be dealing with a 16-year-old version of Maurice Washington to Rocco Spindler.
Yeah.
You talk about a complete difference of family backgrounds, kids, situations, maturity levels. And you have to be able to manage those decisions.
And you are answering to the AD, but in a sense, you're also answering to the head coach, right? The head coach is not answering to the general manager, right?
Yeah, that's what we don't know. Like at a lot of schools, I was talking to Pete Nakos before the show today.
Okay.
And
Pete Nakos is our national writer.
And obviously he said this is the trend, where it's almost like this general manager is another, I mean, like he's going to get paid like a coordinator, but he's bigger than that, as you know. Like,
right.
And he's going to report to Dannon in a lot of respects, or report to the athletic department as a liaison, because Matt Rhule can't do all that himself.
No. He can't handle all of the negotiations, all the financial elements of it. And there's a lot that goes into that conversation. As you know, these portal recruits, traditional recruits, they have demands. I mean, these families have demands. They want
travel demands.
They want cars. They want travel to and from the stadium on game day. There's a lot that goes into it. I imagine that falls under the general manager's purview, not directly probably, but how many people will be working for the general manager? That's another question I have.
I think the name of the game will be, obviously you got to be fully maxed out on your rev share, which Nebraska will be, but how much can you maximize the collective now within the new rules with a clearinghouse involved? How much can you maximize collective dollars? Because everyone's going to have the
20.5,
the 20.5, which will be about 15.
Not everyone will.
Well, in the Big Ten.
In the Big Ten, yeah.
In the SEC.
Those two.
But the separator is going to be like, what can you do with the collective within the new rules?
How much money can you raise?
Within the, it's kind of like when the IRS comes out with new tax codes. Good accountants figure out ways to save their clients or make their clients more money. And that's what the collective, you have to figure out the new rules, what they are, and what can we do with our collective to give us more than 20.5.
Right. How much more? Are you talking 15 million more? Are you talking 8 million more on top of the 20.5?
It's hard to, I would hate to say, but Matt Rhule said on the Pat McAfee show yesterday on Thursday that, look, both Ohio State and Oregon paid their rosters over $20 million. They've had a head start on everybody. If you think about Nebraska's situation, they've had now just under a year of kind of like this vision of NIL where they've all been on the same page. Troy Dannon is about to hit his 1-year anniversary. Before Troy Dannon got here, the NIL relationship and structure was not on the same page.
Now it is.
But that was a setback. And we took some heat from users like that. We tried to say like, hey, this is not right. Like 1890 should be supported more, recognized more, not having to pay to advertise and do all these things. Troy Dannon has really expedited Nebraska's NIL to a higher level.
Okay. So we talk, shifting gears a little bit, we talk about the notion of a salary cap. There's a salary cap to a certain extent. There's a salary cap at 20.5 million, but then there's no salary cap after that. You can raise as much as you want with your collective.
Yes, but those collective deals will have to go through a clearinghouse and be approved. But I've talked to some other people within the industry, and they're real skeptical of that, because how is this clearinghouse going to be able to manage thousands of deals that need approval?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And if they deny,
unwieldy.
I'll use one of our great sponsors. What if Larson Motors wants to give a significant deal to an athlete? Say, Larson Motors is going to give so-and-so $250,000 to be the promotion. How can legally a clearinghouse say they can't do that?
I don't know.
If Larson Motors wants to do that, they should be able to. And that's where this clearinghouse is going to have a lot of problems, because you as a business owner should be able to decide what you think so-and-so is worth, not somebody else trying to set the market.
An outside clearinghouse.
And that's good. It's going to get dicey. Like, I'll call my shot on that right now. Like, the clearinghouse is going to have a hard time.
So again, to review, Nebraska bringing in a new general manager, replacing Sean Padden, Pat Stewart from the New England Patriots, who will quickly have to learn the lay of the land here, right?
Like, will we get like Pat Stewart press conferences now?
Very good question. One would almost think so, right? I don't know though. Like what? I don't know, because okay, do you see the complication with that? Inevitably, the questions would become very personnel related, where those are more Rhule questions. Those are more Matt Rhule questions, right?
I'm sure we'll hear from Stewart though soon, like maybe after spring break. Who knows what the plan will be? I would imagine though, once he gets kind of established, they will have a press conference with him. I mean, they're going to pay him, around $1 million, $800,000, whatever the number is. Like, it's pretty significant.
Are we going to see, I love these conversations. Are we going to see Pat Stewart standing alongside Matt Rhule at practices? Is he going to be at practices? Is he?
I would expect, yeah. I mean, I would expect that.
But I don't know though. Like, does the Packers GM go to practices? The Green Bay Packers. That's a world me and you don't exist in. How often do they show up around there? I don't know.
They go back. I mean, they're back and forth, but yeah, they're going to be dealing with agents. They're going to be dealing with scouts.
People see, there's still people in the fan base, Sean. I guarantee they're like, agents. How pervasive are agents? real pervasive.
Well, yeah. I mean, think about when you're a recruit or a transfer and you're asking for $500,000, $400,000. Like, you don't just write that up on a bar napkin.
No.
I mean, it's
agent.
It's a major deal.
Yeah.
And you need representation for that. You can't, like Uncle Joe that studied on LegalZoom is not going to be able to help you out on that.
Right. I think sometimes in a sense, the media, like myself and yourself, we sort of trivialize those numbers a little bit because we throw them around so casually. Like, yeah, Rocco's getting $1 million,
but you need,
but that's a big deal. That's a
yeah,
that's really big money. I mean,
and you can't just wing that kind of deal. Like,
right.
And what ends up, and you've got father and brother that's a lawyer, two brothers,
right?
And they probably get this all. People reach out to lawyers that they know that are friends and to see if they'll like do free work for them. Can you look at this deal from? I bet your brother
drives one of my brothers. It drives him crazy.
It's like, so you want me to do thousands of dollars of work? For you can't. I mean, that's not realistic.
Oh, call up a lawyer and go, hey, I got a quick question from a friend. Some of them don't react well to that. What do you want some free work here?
So yeah, you have to get an agent, and you know, when an agent's like, yeah, well, I'm going to help you make this deal's $300. We can get you 500, not 300. We'll get you 500. And then my take is this. I mean, that's what those guys do.
And the general manager will deal with that.
And he's got to sniff through the BS.
God, how much phone time will that person have?
A lot. Time. All right, let's get to headline number 2. Again, we're brought to you by
conversation.
StayHome.Care as our title sponsor. Call them at 402-205-2233 to learn more about the services they can offer for you and your loved ones. We're also brought to you by Ridge. And if you're not familiar with Ridge, I've got the Ridge wallet here myself right now. And man, it's a game changer. I mean, for years, my wallet just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It was like a brick.
How about this?
I mean, I literally... Someone's like, did you steal a brick? No, that's my wallet. That's my wallet. And
my question would be, why would you steal a brick? But go ahead.
Like when at church, when you walk up to communion, my wife's like, oh my God, your wallet is embarrassing. Like everyone, you walk up by hundreds of people and they see this brick. I've got rid of that to this.
Yeah, show it. I like that.
So it's got a money clip on the side. It holds 10 cards.
It's very handsome.
You can pick the colors you want on their website. And they've already got some discounts put in place, but we're also going to give you more of a discount, up to 40% off your order at Ridge. And they've got other bells and whistles and things that you can add to your wallet, a key ring and some other things. But check them out at ridge.com/Husker. That's ridge.com/Husker to learn more about their products and what they have to offer. I promise you will love the Ridge wallet. They've got tons of different team designs and other things as well. And look, they're the ultra slim. That's my wallet was bigger than that one, by the way. Look at that picture.
Hold on, I'm looking. Oh,
if you're wondering, we just got Sipple like educated on how to have multiple tiles open on a window.
Yeah, that on the right, on my right.
That's you.
Yeah, that's unwieldy. Yeah, you made a good move there. I can make that move.
I went with like a military grade type. I mean, this thing I think is bulletproof. Like I could just wear it in my chest pocket. I could wear it in my chest pocket.
Yeah,
it's a bulletproof. Deal. I mean,
when you go into the I'll just
all right. Well, I divert. Let's get into headline number 2. So Matt Rhule has reshuffled now almost his entire deck. Let's go through it in summary here.
How about this, Sean?
7 assistant coach hires since Dana Holgorsen. 7.
Since Dana Holgorsen.
And if you want to get real technical, 8 going back to John Butler in August.
Then what about the recruiting department?
So then, 3 new coordinators.
Okay, 3 new coordinators.
A new OC, a new DC, and a new special teams coordinator. Mm-hmm. And now a new general manager comes in for Nebraska, and Pat Stewart. But that entire recruiting apparatus in terms of that department and how it was structured is going to change. So we're looking at 7 new coaches, 3 of them new coordinators, and a completely new approach with your personnel department.
I think this has hit people pretty quickly. Like, it's okay, Sean. If I say the word reset, how do you react? This feels like a reset, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right to some extent for sure. Like you go back to the original hires that were put in place, only a couple of those remain. Rob Dvorak, EJ Barthel, and Donovan Raiola, who was a Scott Frost holdover. But there's not a lot of the original
group.
Satterfield, but Satterfield's been moved down, and he's the highest paid tight ends coach in the country.
Tight ends coach
at 1.4.
How much say in the offense do you think Satterfield has?
I would imagine not much. I mean, Dana Holgorsen, what we've heard about him is he's in the office all the time. Like he's a grinder.
We've heard a lot lately because we heard from Jamar Mosey at your event at St. Michael's in Lincoln. And then we heard from DeKeel Shorts the other day more about Holgorsen. And what those guys say are very similar. He's very particular in what he wants. I love it. I love it. He's very particular in what he wants.
Well, I think one of the reasons, too, Matt Rhule doesn't want a lot of eyeballs in for spring ball is they're going to look a lot different on offense. Like Dana Holgorsen had to kind of work with what they had the final month of the year. Now he's going to put in what he wants. And
100.
And John Butler, same deal. Like
100. So third down package is going to change a lot. We heard that from Phil Snow. The big takeaway from Phil Snow on Wednesday, Phil Snow, the associate head coach, who's a defensive-oriented coach, the third down package is going to look different. It's going to be advanced. That had to be music to Sean Callahan's ears. It was music to my ears. Now, go back to the recruiting department. How different is the recruiting department?
Well, yeah, I just think you look at how that was headed up with Sean Patton, Vince Ginta, and that group. I mean, I expect a complete change there. I mean, I think
maybe Keith Williams stay in the
Keith
same.
Williams is an assistant tight ends coach, but he's a big part of the recruiting operation. Right. The thing is, I thought they've had a pretty good plan, though. I mean, they've had 3 consecutive top 25 classes. They've signed multiple top 15 portal classes. So they've done their part. I mean, I think when you look at what that group has done, the difference now is managing this major piece of money. Like you can't just kind of wing the management of $20.5 million.
No, you can't. That's a great point, Sean.
You can't just be like, let's just go. We got a lot of money. Let's just go with it. We got money. Let's just have fun.
There better be because you're AD. What I hope people understand in this entire conversation is that Matt Rhule has a boss. Okay. And Troy Dannon, you have to answer to Troy Dannon now. Okay. And yeah, you can't. This isn't a fraternity where you're just jacking around with $20.5 million. You got to show your boss you're managing this with responsibility. It's all hitting us pretty fast, actually. All these changes have happened so quickly. By the way, Troy Dannon on the radio on Thursday night said, "This is interesting. I need to write this in some form." He said, "Things are evolving in college football, which is challenging, but it also gives you an opportunity to gain advantages. It's an opportunity for Nebraska to be ahead of the competition in certain elements of this new world that you're talking about." So we'll see if Nebraska can make it. I hate to say it this way, make it pay, but that's kind of what we're talking about.
Just think about how big that Wisconsin win is now, though. If they didn't get that win and finish 5-7 again, like what is the feel right now?
What do you think?
I pulled the babe in the woods to you.
He would not be would Rhule be on Pat McAfee right now if they finish 5?
Probably not.
Right. I mean, I don't.
So like they pulled it out late.
They did,
and they recognized some things that needed to be addressed.
I mean, we always talk about a fine line in college athletics. There's a fine line between what we would judge as success and not success, and we always say that winning matters. And you could say it's a prime example. Beating Wisconsin, beating Boston College. You tell me those wins don't matter? I hate it. I hate it when people say those lower level bowl games don't matter. That game against Boston College didn't matter. What if they lose that?
God,
game?
I had fun, and that was a great trip.
Okay, but what if they lose that game?
Oh yeah, especially when you had all your dudes playing,
right?
And Boston College's main guys didn't play,
right? But Nebraska went there and took care of business, and because of that, you do feel different about all of this discussion. So I hope people understand that stuff matters. Beating Boston College mattered greatly
in Wisconsin.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Well, in the Iowa game, just how much that hurt too.
It's a kick in the groin. I mean, it was a terrible loss.
Yeah, and it's like Iowa knew they got lucky to win,
right? But it mattered,
and they got to go to Nashville because of it. But yeah, there's a lot there.
Reshuffle. Hey, Rhule reshuffles almost his entire deck.
The opener too is, I mean, it's not going to be a picnic. I mean,
no.
Even with that stadium being 90% Nebraska fans, 95%, the spread right now is -6.5 Nebraska. So that tells you it's like a home game for Nebraska. Like this is, I mean, Cincinnati returns a very good quarterback, a veteran quarterback. And look, they were a 5-win team, but this will not be an easy opener on paper. I mean, Nebraska's have to, if you're Matt Rhule, you don't want to show anything to them.
No. Rhule, I mean, if you just think about it, this is year 3. Nebraska they internally have big expectations, but now there's some external expectations, right?
I'm surprised it was only 6.5. I thought it'd be more like 8.5, 9.
I'm not surprised.
Under a touchdown.
Not surprised.
But Nebraska and openers in these types of games have not done well.
Right.
So
there you go, Sean.
You go back to the Illinois, Northwestern. I'm trying to think the Minnesota opener. I mean, Nebraska's struggled in openers like this. The BYU opener. I mean,
2 Illinois opener, or no,
Illinois and Northwestern,
right,
and then Minnesota.
Right.
So,
right.
All right. Before we go to headline number 3, HuskerOnline headlines brought to you by Factor. It's a time of year you want to eat healthy, you want to eat right. You don't have time to necessarily pack a lunch, get all the things you need. Factor makes it easy. They put together freshly cooked, ready to go meals that you just heat up at home or at work. And they send it to you every week. And every week they have 40 different options across 8 different dietary preferences. So if you want protein, if you want spice, if you want vegetarian, whatever the combination is, they have it for you at Factor, and they send them to you in a cooler right to your door. You put them in the refrigerator. You can put them in the freezer if you want to keep them longer, but they're meant to heat up fresh from Factor. Give them a try, and if you've not tried them, we've got a great discount with HuskerOnline. We're going to give you 50% off your first box plus free shipping. All you got to do is go to factormeals.com/Factor Podcast. That's factormeals.com/Factor Podcast, and they will get you 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Thanks again to Factor for sponsoring us here on HuskerOnline headlines. All right, headline number 3. Did Ty Robinson make himself some money? He had an absolutely dominant performance at the NFL Combine. When you break down the numbers, I mean, he ran at a high level in the 40-yard dash.
4.83.
Fastest of any of the interior defensive linemen.
Wow. 36 of them. And then I think, the guy I sit with every morning on my radio show, Bill Bush, quickly asked me, okay, what was his split in the first 10 seconds? That's what a lot of guys look at. Well, it was 1.71 second split, 1.71, which was third among the defensive tackles. He came in at 6'5", 288. Okay, there's more. I mean, his vertical jump was 33.5. His standing long jump, 9 feet 11 inches. He did well in both the 3-cone drill and the shuttle run, third among defensive tackles. Ty,
and the film's good.
Ty went to Indy and I would say raised his stock.
Can he get in the second day is the question. I mean, I think.
Are you just ruling out first round?
Yeah, because he's older. It's hard. I mean,
no, I'm not.
I've not seen one person say first round on him other than you
and Matt Rhule.
But I think I'm trying to be a realist here, like second and third round, maybe.
Yeah.
Can you get to that level? Like that's, I think we all agree he was going to be like a fourth or fifth rounder before all this happened.
First round's probably a pipe dream, I think,
because he's older. I mean, I think teams that invest in a first round pick, 6-year guys are a hard sell.
If I were his agent, if I were Ty Robinson's agent, I would shout you down on that and say, okay, he's 24. What's his injury history? Doesn't have it. Does he have an injury history at all?
I guess the difference is,
did you think back on Nebraska? Did he have much? He didn't have much. He played.
You get these SEC guys that go in the draft and they're like 20.
Right. No, I know. The 24 thing. I understand. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. And how do you combat it if you're Ty's agent? That's Ty's agent's job, is to combat that number.
So his speed was 20.64 miles per hour, which was the number one time for D tackles.
He's a freak. Okay. That's what we're talking about. If I'm his agent, I'm selling all that. What do you guys want from him? Why does it matter if he's 24, if he's the fastest defensive tackle there, Sean?
No, I'll be interested to see. God, I said it.
You did.
I said
You're going to start getting fined too. $20 every time we say interesting or interested or some derivative.
Megan almost needs to have a little graphic on the side where we say it and it just says it ding, ding, ding.
It's a good idea.
Like, and just make a joke out of it. But 20.64 miles per hour, amazing speed. Now Fedoni will run today.
Okay.
So we'll see. And Michael Severe has put together like his own projection of what he'll run.
How does he project what somebody's
based on height, weight, and the numbers out there? He thinks he'll be in the 4.6s.
I will tell you this about Michael Severe. I've listened to his draft analysis for years. I mean, I'll say 15. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about.
He also brought back the very controversial media bracket, I see.
No.
You got I'm a 2 seed. You're a 1 seed.
No. I hate that bracket. Hey, but he knows he knows his NFL. Wow. So Fedoni, first of all, you want to see him run faster and tie. I mean, that'd be the number one thing, right? I mean, you want to see him run faster and tie. So we'll see what all that looks like.
He's gonna run faster than 4.8.
Oh, you could be Fedoni's agent.
Well,
you are a Fedoni agent.
He got a Senior Bowl invite in a combine.
You are the de facto Fedoni.
He's getting drafted. Unless the medical portion of the combine is really poor. Like that would be the only way he wouldn't get drafted, which could happen. Because the medical JoJo Doman was telling me about the medical portion. I mean, it's like you literally get poked and prong with sticks, sometimes by every team's doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a process.
Well, just for the record, I think you're right about Fedoni. And he's obviously, I like receivers with big catch radiuses. He looks the part. I have to think he can play in that league. He'll have to prove some things. I don't think Ty has a lot to prove. I don't.
Watch Nayor come out too and just look good. That wouldn't surprise me.
Me neither.
And then the announcers will be like, man, didn't know much about this guy.
Right.
Wonder why he didn't do this at Nebraska. Like,
yeah.
I mean, he had some highlights. Like the UTEP highlight's a great highlight where he caught but
UTEP.
Sorry, Scotty.
Do that against Ohio State. Okay. Then we'll talk. Okay?
And then Tommy Hill, we'll see what he does this weekend too. I think he's running later in the weekend.
Uh-huh.
So those 4 guys at the combine, but Ty Robinson kind of was one of the big stories in day one.
It was. He delivered probably even. I think we both thought he would deliver. I would say he surprised me by how much he delivered. Knew he would deliver, did not know he'd deliver like that. Really impressive.
All right, let's take it to headline number 4. But before we get there, HuskerOnline headlines brought to you again by the title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there for you and the loved ones in your life. Check them out. It's at StayHome.Care. That's .care, not .com. Learn more about them at StayHome.Care or call them at 402-205-2233. Our heart is with you because we put our heart in everything we do. Your home, our care, StayHome.Care. We're also brought to you by BetterHelp. Look, it's also that time of year where you got a lot going on. You're trying to juggle life, whether it's at home with your kids, at work, with family, and it's overwhelming. And sometimes you just need somebody to talk to about the issues that you deal with. And BetterHelp is there for you to help you through the tough days in life. And they make it really easy. They find a therapist that matches you. They have a great match program to kind of help one that's going to fit what you're looking for. But then the best part about it is you don't have to go to a doctor's office. You do it right at home on your computer, on your personal device, wherever you may be. They bring it to you. So check them out. We've got a great deal with BetterHelp as well. We're going to give you 10% off your first month. All you need to do is go to betterhelp.com/Husker. That's betterhelp.com/Husker, and you'll get 10% off that first month of BetterHelp. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring us here on Husker Online Headlines. Okay, let's get number 4. Troy Dannon shedded some more light, Steve Sipple, on what April 26 may look like. And you listen to that. Give us a rundown of what the spring game weekend might include, including possibly a garage sale.
Stop. Okay. What I call it is I've just personally called this now the spring game replacement weekend. Okay, it's the spring game replacement weekend. I never know what to call it, so that's what I'm calling it that. Yeah, he did shed a little bit more light on it Thursday night on statewide radio. He again talked about flag football. He said, while it won't be a traditional game, he said we'll still see our football athletes put their skills on display, whether it's through a skills competition, some flag football, some 7-on-7 type flag football. It'll be something like that. I don't know how fans feel about that. I don't know. He said, here, this is what you're alluding to. I'm hoping we can pull off some type of garage sale, if you will.
I will tell you, if they do something like that, people will come out for it.
He said, we have a lot of equipment that accumulates, and every once in a while, it's good to kind of purge. Okay, so I don't know what. Now, I would say this, if it's apparel, if it's jackets that the players and coaches wear, I'd be interested in that for like a father.
Shoes.
Yeah, for like my father or my brothers.
Well, I will just tell you, people will come out. If there's it's like, have you ever been to a garage sale?
Yes, Sean, I've been to garage sales. I have
people
not
are waiting
existed in a cave.
People are waiting outside your garage till you open the door. And I don't know if you remember, like Adrian Martinez, after he left Kansas State, he had one in Papillion.
Yeah.
And like they had to bring like police to like move traffic through the neighborhood. And there was so much stuff he was selling.
Yeah, Lance Leipold, he worked at Nebraska as a on-campus recruiting coordinator. And at one point this was years ago, when he left, he had a garage sale. I thought it was spectacular. I mean, all of I got a jacket for my dad. I got a jacket for myself. I wouldn't wear, I couldn't wear it very often, just around the house type thing. But yeah, you can get a lot of stuff.
Coach Held, when he,
shoes,
Ryan Held, when he left Nebraska, he contacted me, and the coaches have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And he wanted to give it all to me to donate to like Holy Ghost. So Coach Held gave me a lot of it still had tags on it, like boxes of stuff.
What a nice gesture.
And so then I met up with our friends at the Holy Ghost Husker Nights, and then they use those items in the raffles.
So I don't know what else. I guess there could be footballs. I don't know if there'd be. Do you have any use for a blocking dummy? I don't know if that would be auctioned off.
Is it crazy that I'm as interested in this as I am like?
No, it's not crazy.
The tug of war and the skills competition.
This one's interesting. I thought this was a good idea. He also mentioned the possibility of having ticketed tours of the Osborne Legacy
Good
complex.
idea, because that we deal with a lot of customer feedback, and a lot of fans want to see this.
Yeah. Ticketed tour.
That will sell out.
I would think that I would think it would go well. He did mention something that you've mentioned, and that is a lot of other schools seem to be following in Nebraska's path of moving away from a traditional spring football scrimmage. He said people are trying to turn those weekends into more of a celebration. This is what I was talking about before. This is what Troy said last night. The college football world is evolving, and evolution is not always kind when you're a traditionalist, but evolution gives you an opportunity to find a way to get ahead. And that's what we're chasing, frankly. We've got to get back on top. Love it. I love it. I love hearing that from the boss. He's the boss, Sean. He's the boss.
And he's a year in now.
And he's not, if you listen to him in that interview last night with Jessica Cootie, he doesn't want Nebraska just to be hanging around every so often being competitive in various sports. He wants to be a power. Nebraska should be a power. It has the apparatus in place.
The fan base, the tradition, and the money and the resources.
It shouldn't even be something he has to say, but I feel like he does need to voice that. This place concerns me sometimes with the mentality that's settled in. With men's basketball, it's like your big thing is, if they could just make the tournament. You know what I say to that? Who gives a damn? Everybody makes the tournament. I mean, like, who cares? And then what I hate more than anything is, God, if they could just win a game. That doesn't even mean anything.
And you watch, if they make it in the play-in game and they win that game, the real snooty purist, it doesn't count.
Well, I'm not saying
I know, but like that's going to be that's going to be the discussion.
Right. But
it's not a true tournament win.
But there's a mentality that seeps in here a little bit that it's like, I don't know what happened, but it wasn't like that. I hate to say it this way, but it wasn't like that in the 90s. Nebraska was a power, and they're gonna, they expected to win every time they went out.
Yeah, just a different time though. You can't really compare it to that era anymore. It's just different. I mean, everyone has the same amount of money now.
It's true.
To hire coaches and get players.
You got to find an edge. That's what Troy's talking about.
But yeah, that should be a fun weekend, April 26th. I'd imagine it'll be like a all afternoon type deal where
all day. The soccer team plays Wyoming that day. Oh, we didn't even mention again. He did mention again the volleyball team playing
in Devaney.
Yeah, probably sold out for Danny Busboom Kelly, right? Sold out.
Oh, and did you hear on the AVCA deal at PBA next door here? They've already had to stop the ticket sales because so many sold. I mean, shocker, but it sounds like there was kind of a Ticketmaster snafu.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on the message board. Yeah, interestingly too, Dannon was saying that Danny Busboom Kelly wasn't even aware that Nebraska was in that tournament when she took the job. Now here you go. Now here you go, Pitt and Stanford. Here you go, right out of the gate.
But yeah, Ticketmaster, when that third party group sells that like outside of Nebraska,
yeah,
it allows the professional ticket sharks. And I know how these guys do it. I mean, I have a friend that's in the business.
What do they do?
I mean, a ticket guy might have like 40 accounts, and then they have 40 iPad devices like lined up, connected to one master computer, and they can log them all in at one time and purchase tickets on like 40 accounts.
Purchase how many tickets would you?
Whatever the max you're allowed to do, difference per event, but. So like Ticketmaster,
they have the tickets to distribute.
No, I mean, one of my friends, I've seen it. Like these tickets, and that's how it is. And they're gamblers, investors. They understand like what event you can buy at 50 that you can sell for 100. And if they know that, you're going to buy as many as you can.
Mm-hmm. Profit.
So yeah, Ticketmaster had some issues though. I think with how the code worked, getting on there, and people said like 15 minutes in the lower bowl, there was not much left.
Yeah, average Joe kind of gets pushed out in that conversation, right?
It's real. I mean, for an elite event at PBA, Husker basketball, now volleyball, it's really hard to get lower bowl seats. Like, I mean, lower bowl basketball tickets for men's are extremely hard to get your hands on. Now, second, third level, a little easier. But All right, let's get into headline 5, odds and ends. Before we get into that, again, thanks to our title sponsor, StayHome.Care. They're there for you. If you have somebody that is coming off of surgery in your family that just needs help throughout the week and you can't be there for them, they're there for you to do personal care, companionship, daily tasks like laundry, meal prep, assistance with appointments and outings. They set up a schedule and help you through times where you might need help that you can't be there. Call them at 402-205-2233. That's StayHome.Care at 402-205-2233. Thank you to StayHome.Care. Again, the title sponsor of the Husker Online Headline Show. But odds and ends, big one, Saturday afternoon, Pinnacle Bank Arena, Nebraska, Minnesota. It's big because they've got to win this game, Sip. It's a quad 3 game, I believe, now for Nebraska. Because it's a home game against a team out of the top 50.
Yeah.
And they can't afford this. So, and it's going to be,
can't afford to lose it.
Can't afford to lose this game. And we don't get a lot of these 1 p.m. traditional, back in the day in the Big 12 and the Big 8, you always had like the Saturday 1 o'clock, Phillips 66, Big 10 basketball, Big 8 basketball. So it's going to be good atmosphere down there. I mean, I think people are going to be pumped.
Yeah. Burke will play. He feels great. So Burke, say his last name, please.
Buchan.
Forget it. Burke.
Well, why'd you do that to me?
I shouldn't have. Burke, my
I just
bad.
call him Burke.
Burke. He feels
Buchan.
great. I'm reading right from Robin's story. He came back well off the Michigan game. I didn't even realize he played a season high 31 minutes. I knew he played a lot. He played a season-high 31 minutes after missing the previous 3 games with that sprained ankle, but he was a full participant in Thursday's practice. That's gigantic. They need to get Burke back. Fred said his shot will come back. He was 0 for 10 against Michigan. By the way, Michigan came back after winning 49-46 in Lincoln and put 85 on Rutgers. That would concern me a little bit as a Nebraska
They
fan.
gave up 57 to Rutgers in the first half. Did you know that? Rutgers had 57
Rutgers got 57 on them
at halftime.
Oh boy.
I mean, it was a motivated Ace Bailey and Harper. I mean, that's
not a great commentary for Nebraska. That Rutgers got 57 on them in a half, and Nebraska got 46.
Does Nebraska have the number 1 and number 2 picks in the draft on their team?
No, they don't. Now, here's the good news. Well, I mean, I don't know. It was interesting what Fred said about how well Nebraska played defensively against Michigan. Fred Hoiberg called Nebraska's performance versus Michigan the best defensive effort that's ever been played here at Pinnacle Bank Arena.
Wow.
And he added, we still lost. The best defensive effort that's ever been played here at PBA. They did play. Now, I will say this, Sean. There was a lot of talk about that game, etc. But I told you, I was astounded by how well Nebraska played defense. Michigan could look at what Michigan just did. I said 85 against Rutgers. It was mid-80s, I think. Nebraska completely took Michigan out of what it wanted to do. Now they lost because their offense was horrific. Nebraska's as good as well as they played defensively. They played that badly on offense. But God, Fred was so right in the post game, Sean. If you heard him in the post game against Michigan, I think he said it 3 different times. If we play defense like that, we're going to be just fine down the stretch. I tend to agree with him.
I mean, they need to play, particularly these home games, Saturday and then Sunday against Iowa, Minnesota Saturday, Iowa next Sunday, with their hair on fire.
Yeah,
and that arena is going to understand what's at stake in these 2 weekend games. Look, I don't think everyone's at terms that this is not a great team, but they should still get to the tournament. And people want, like, there's a chance they could play a tournament game in Wichita. How fun would that be?
It would be fun. And I've said it. I'll keep saying it. This team's floor is strangely low. Like it can be really bad. Like like
Penn State.
But the other side of that is they can be really scary.
Oregon.
Yeah. I mean, I'd almost use Michigan as an example. Michigan's number 12 in the country when they play. I mean, I just thought, like, Michigan, it was all Michigan could do to hold Nebraska off. I'm still surprised they did. So Nebraska can mess with the team.
Well, like Maryland.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, Maryland played really well in Lincoln.
Right. And barely won.
And barely won. And I would say, other than Bryce Williams, Maryland had an advantage at almost every position on the floor.
I get it. Their floor's low. And it's been really volatile. It's been Nebraska's. Robin uses that word, and he's so right. Robin Washut. The season's been too volatile. I mean, just think about how bad they were defensively against Penn State. One game later, they play the best they've ever played at PBA on defense. That's volatility. What Fred's got to do is get it to be more even. I mean, don't have those. Why are the mood swings so wild? So come out against Minnesota, play a good game. If you play a good game, you'll probably be
Siege needs to get going. I mean, that's
yeah.
Like he can't go over in a game down the stretch anymore.
Well, you can't have. Yeah,
it's a problem when Sam Hoiberg has hit 2 threes and a Siege doesn't hit any.
That helps. It helps if Sam.
You want Sam to hit those too, but a Siege needs to be making 3 or 4.
Yeah, he does. He does.
And that's what he's here for. He's not here for his elite physical size, athletic ability. He's here to hit wide open threes.
He'll hit them,
and he's got to make them.
He'll hit them.
All right. Moving on. Odds and ends. In-state tour event we got this weekend, and we're doing just one event this year in Omaha.
What is this in-state tour event?
Well, we've done the event since 2004, so it's over 20 years old. I think 22 or 23 years in a row I've done this, where we meet with the top in-state players and coaches around the state. It used to be when I was younger and not married, I'd go to every school of my own. And it took a lot of time, but now it's just easier to do one location. So Steve Warren at the Warren Academy is going to host the event for us, and we'll be there Sunday. And all of the top players in the area that are Division I prospects, we've got invited to attend. So I'm looking forward to that event. I know you're going to try to get out there if you can.
I'm going to go there and talk to Jet Tamala. That's what I want to do. I want to talk to that Erickson kid. I
was at Central. We already had to do
the big lineman. I want to talk to the big lineman.
So unfortunately, Central won't be there. But Greg and I went to Central Thursday.
Who'd you talk to?
And they have Kylon Haney, a running back for 27.
Okay. And how's he look to you?
Big. He's 205 pounds.
Nice.
And while we were sitting there, Wisconsin offered him. Nebraska and Wisconsin have offered him, but he's got a
Kylon Haney.
He's 16, and he's got a 335-pound bench press, and he does 2,000 push-ups a week.
Matt Rhule, calling Matt Rhule, get him.
And then Torrey Pittman, a 2027 as well. They have 2 of the higher profile guys in the state, and then Caprice Keith transferred there from Bell West, so they have 3 power 4s on that team. And then we stopped over at North Star as well on Tuesday. Tyrell Chapman is the only power 4 offered prospect right now in the city of Lincoln.
Who's he looking at?
Well, he committed in Northern Illinois, but Iowa State's offered, and I do think there's a decent chance he'll flip to Iowa State soon.
Where's Nebraska in that conversation?
No, not in the picture right now. I mean, they're not. They're just haven't recruited. They're not. I mean, I think he's just not a guy that they're looking at this point. I mean, it's just different recruiting now. When you're only taking 15 high school guys,
it's pretty selective, doesn't it?
Pretty selective, but yeah, Chapman's I'm not going to say the other word. Fascinating prospect. He's 6'2", took 3rd in the 400 as a sophomore.
What position?
Corner.
6'2",
6'2", and he's also a safety, but he ran 49.3 in the 4, 22.3 in the 2. He's going to run the 100, and his dad played football for Arkansas. So in terms of prospects in the city of Lincoln right now, he's the most high-profile name today. And North Star, they've had some players come out of like Luke Reimer. He's a walk-on in Nebraska, but they haven't had a guy identified like this early as a power 4.
Okay, let's just do this. Let's break this down real quick. The number 1 player in Nebraska, according to On3, is Jet Tamala,
and we'll see him.
Not Nebraska, not interested. The number 1 player in Lincoln, a corner, 6'2" corner, apparently he can run. Nebraska, not interested. That's selective. You're being selective at that point.
Yeah, and I think you hate to use past history, but look, Rhule's taken a lot of in-state guys. How many do you feel real good about, or that are still here from the last 2 years?
Have to look back.
Carter Nelson, obviously, you feel good about still, but Sam Sledge, you feel good about. Gatula, but in the skill area, Caleb Benning and Donovan Jones have looked good. But look at the receivers; they're already gone.
Yeah. By the way, you mentioned Sam Sledge. I get the sense his importance is increasing pretty dramatically
as the possible center.
He could be the center. Yeah.
So then, who would be the right tackle?
Well, I don't know. Is you talking about Rocco or
Rocco's a guard?
Tackle. You said tackle.
Who kicks out the right tackle?
Well, you don't. Yes.
Is it Latosky?
Could be Gatula.
Is it Gatula?
Could be
Corcoran.
Corcoran. There's a number of guys that you could put out there. You could swing Gatula from the left to the right.
Pritchett's left tackle. I think we both agree, right?
Right. Yeah, 100%. Gatula won't be available in the spring. So, and I don't know, I hate doing this on the air, but is Latosky? No, Latosky's not available in the spring.
Not available.
So those two guys that could be right tackles are not available.
So Evans would be a guard in the spring with Rocco, Sledge a center.
Yeah.
And then left tackle Pritchett, right tackle. I would assume Teddy's back.
Yeah.
Corcoran, it seemed like with a hamstring surgery, where will he be? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
And then one quick thing, Matt Rhule talked about this in McAfee, one portal window. And this is kind of what everyone wants now. And it's a
win.
That's the question. Like, do you continue with it just in December? But the issue continues to be the disruption that has with high school recruiting and the disruption that has with the playoffs. Or do you make the portal window April 15th to May 15th or something like that?
But then the kids get here so late.
Then the kids don't get here until late May, and you would essentially get like OTA mini camps, and that's it.
You got to get them ready so quick.
But yeah, my thing is, if you announce you're leaving school A, but you have to stay there, that school is not going to accommodate you with their dietary programs and lifting. And I mean,
probably not.
And you know how, when you work out in a program with the dietary stuff with it, it's a big difference than doing it on your own. So some of these guys that you pick up late, they're not going to be near as ready as they are coming in now in January. Like Dane Key's already gained 10 pounds. Great example right there.
Really tough decisions in that. When do you put that portal window?
Do you cater the portal window for the 10 or 12 teams in the playoff, or do you cater it to the rest of college football?
I don't know if I'd look at it that way. I would tend to say early. I'd want the December window because of what you said. If you get them here in May and you're counting on these guys, a lot of them to play, you got to get them ready so fast. I mean, it's acclimated to the area. And then, by the way, you got to learn our offense or our defense, or whatever it is. And you got to get to know the guys. The coaches it's just a lot.
Yeah, that winter.
That's a lot.
Because think about what you get now. You get a winter workout.
Right.
Mat drills.
Yeah.
You get spring ball.
That's what it should be.
And then you get the full summer.
That's what it should be.
I mean, you're ready.
That's what it should be.
Compare that to Devin Drew.
Devin Drew's a great example. He just shows up. Hey, guys, there's Devin Drew. He's working. They couldn't even work him out with the team early. He had to work on the sidelines. Remember? Just do those dumb little drills on the sideline for a few days before he could jump in with the fray. You know, he's just wearing his short pants over there. Like, he's a lineman, but he can't practice for a few days. No, I don't want. That's.
I bet 90% of our listeners don't even remember Devin Drew.
Devin Drew came from Texas Tech,
but he's a Kansas City kid.
Yeah, Kansas City kid, came from Texas Tech, defensive lineman, played. I don't know, what was he playing? 15 snaps a game, maybe 20. 20. All right, hung in there. He kind of hung in there.
It's funny, in that context of NIL, Nebraska was able to basically buy a player off Texas Tech's roster. But now, knowing the oil money and support, Texas Tech has obviously got a pretty robust.
Yeah, evolved.
It's changed a lot since that era. But yeah, there's a lot there that we'll learn and talk about here. But that wraps it up here for today. Thanks again to Steve Sipple. I'm Sean Callahan signing off here for this week's edition of Husker Online Headlines.